Katana area, opposite the Lebanese Rashaya neighborhood. The Israeli tanks were less than 3 kilometers from the town of Katana and about 20 kilometers from Damascus. According to Lebanese military and security analyst Charles Abinader, Israeli troops infiltrated into Syrian territory without encountering resistance. The UN registers that more than 1.6 million people are at risk of being displaced in Syria. This figure is in addition to the hundreds of thousands who have already been forced to flee. According to World Food Program Director Cindy McCain, $250 million are urgently needed to prevent more people in Syria from falling into famine. She explained that agency members remain there and providing vital assistance despite the escalating situation, adding that they continue to expand their work to ensure that food reaches people in need wherever they are. And the coalition of armed terrorist groups in Syria responsible for the overthrow of President Bashar al-Assad announced the creation of a transitional government led by Mohammed al-Bashir. According to the terrorist coalition, al-Bashir, who until now was at the head of a terrorist group belonging to the Al-Qaeda organization, will be in charge of managing the transition phase in order to establish the new government, under the pretext of preventing Syria from entering into a state of chaos. The announcement was made after talks between the extremist groups and former Prime Minister Mohammed al-Halali. Meanwhile, the International Federation of Journalists has informed that as of December 10, 2024, 104 journalists have been killed worldwide. According to this data, 2024 has been another particularly deadly year for journalists and media professionals. The organization reaffirms its commitment to the urgent adoption by the United Nations of a global convention to protect journalists. In this context, for the second year in a row, the Middle East is the region that holds the dismal record for the number of journalists killed, reaching 66 dead in 2024, 55 of them in Gaza. On October 13, 2023, the International Federation of Journalists urged UNESCO to make efforts for the protection of the members of this sector. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrived in court to testify as a defendant in criminal charges against him for 3 separate cases. Netanyahu will answer charges of fraud, breach of trust, and accepting bribes in 3 separate cases during his court appearances. He denies wrongdoing and says the charges are a witch hunt orchestrated by a hostile media and a biased legal system that seeks to overthrow him. Dozens of people gathered outside the court in Tel Aviv, some to protest against Netanyahu, including relatives of hostages held in Gaza. It will be the first time an Israeli Prime Minister testifies as a defendant in a criminal trial. The President of Argentina, Javier Milei, during his first year in office, pursued economic adjustments, reaching the highest national budget attrition the nation has experienced in 25 years. The Ibero-American Center for Research in Science, Technology and Innovation accounted on a briefing the budget's depletion in this sector for over 30%, while the one for education fell by over 45% in comparisons to the 2020 and 2023 terms. Furthermore, the gross domestic product has been reduced below the minimum standard values, even lower than in the previous administration. State agencies have been affected, mainly in wages, generating a strong social rejection to Milei's policy, which has caused thousands of layoffs of public workers, closure of strategic companies, among other setbacks. In the first year of Milei's administration, close to 50% of Argentinian population is living in high levels of poverty. Indeed, the Social Observatory of the Argentine Catholic University briefed that 23 million people currently remain below such level. Moreover, the economic plan of the far-right president led to the fall of the gross domestic product. The study further specified that over 66% of children live in households with incomes below poverty levels. Meanwhile, key sectors such as industry are going through hardships. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva is currently recovering in an intensive care unit after undergoing surgery for an intracranial hemorrhage, as reported by the Syro-Lebanese hospital through a statement released on Tuesday. The statement informed the head of state went to a health facility for tests after feeling a headache, adding that the results of the subsequent MRI showed intracranial bleeding, product of a home accident. He was transferred to the Sao Paulo unit of the hospital, where a craniotomy was performed to drain the hematoma. The institution assured the surgery was performed without incident and the president is doing well. In this regard, the Chief Minister of the Brazilian Government's Secretariat of Communication, Paulo Pimenta, assured that the post-operative operation rest period is usually 24 to 48 hours. In the same context, President Luis Ignacio da Silva's medical team confirmed that he is in stable condition after a cranial drainage surgery. Let's listen to the coverage of our colleague Ignacio Lemus from Sao Paulo.
Greetings, studios. The medical team of President Lula da Silva has given statements at the Syrian-Lebanese hospital. During a press conference, it was stated that the president is conscious, he eats, talks normally, and that he will not have sequelae of the surgery performed during this early morning at that hospital. During Monday's day, Lula had felt headaches and was later registered with the Syrian-Lebanese hospital in Brasilia. An advance of a hemorrhage in his head, in the cranial region. Because of that, he was transferred to the Syrian-Lebanese hospital in Sao Paulo, and here an operation was performed to drain that liquid from his head, to drain that hematoma. The truth is that the recovery of the Brazilian president is now advancing. He will remain, the doctors pointed out, under observation for the next few hours. He also made statements. The chief minister of the Brazilian Ministry of Communication, Paulo Pimenta, stated that President Lula da Silva was well and that this type of operation is a simple operation. He has about 24 to 48 hours of post-operative rest and maintenance of an observation situation for President Lula da Silva. So, everything is moving forward calmly, the doctors pointed out. And President Lula da Silva is stable after this surgery performed in the Syrian-Lebanese hospital.
Israeli occupation